and welcome back to the Simply podcast. Yet again, you're joined by myself. I know, it's a little bit weird. I'm doing the intro for once, but hey, we're going to roll with it. And, of course, our lovely host, Spud.
Indeed. Changing roles today, so we're seeing how that was. You know what? That was like a... You know what? I'll give that a solid 8.5 out of 10. That was pretty good, that.
Thank you. Thank you.
What you went a little loud at the beginning, but other than that was solid. That was...
Yeah, I just used my natural charisma that I totally have a lot of.
Yeah, definitely borrowed that from someone. Right, so we got a podcast again for you, and we are going to be talking a little bit about football today, which is usually a topic I do try and not talk about in the podcast, but realistically, it's about us, and we're both massive football fans.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of talk about a little bit about it, and we're going to be talking about one club in particular, Man United. But before we get into that, make sure that if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, you are subscribing, and if you're listening to this podcast on the likes of Spotify, Apple Music, and Nan's TV, make sure that you are following, because it helps. Do I need any other reason? It helps. So, and you know what? You like helping because you're a good person, so you're gonna follow. There you go. So yes, we are recording this on the Sunday morning. Obviously, it is just after what was a pretty good return to the Premier League. A lot happened, but probably the biggest fixture really to talk about was the Man United one. When I look at what I'll say just beforehand is we brung back predictions in the Discord. If you're not already in the Discord already, get yourself in there. We do predictions. I've got Chrissy, basically what he does is he lists all the fixtures and you say who you think's going to win out of all them. And the first predictions of every month, we'll be doing a £20 giveaway for whoever gets the most correct.
And you don't have to write anything down. It's literally just click which one.
It's literally just click which ones you think. And but you don't need to pay anything or anything. It's all absolutely free. It's just the first game week of every month we'll be doing £20 giveaway. Yeah. And looking at the predictions with this one, Man United versus Brighton was quite a broad prediction. I'm looking at it here. There was 4 people that said Man United were going to win. There was 3 people.
I forgot to do it, but I would have said Brighton wins.
Well, there's I mean, everyone would say that in hindsight now, wouldn't they?
No, we've lost it. They're the fourth, only the 4th team in football history to beat us 4 times consecutively.
Aye,
only the 4th team ever to do that. I thought that we were going to lose.
Yeah, and what was it? We had 3 people saying a draw and 3 people saying a Brighton win. And the people that got it correct, on fairness, it was only 2 people that said Brighton win, and it was Reese and Charlie. So well done you two for getting that one correct. But yeah, obviously, yeah, it was quite a broad fixture, and I remember talking about this on stream as well. And again, it was kind of a mixed bag because Brighton, very organised team, very well drilled, and have been historically in the Premier League, particularly over the last few seasons, have been just constantly going up and up and up a level.
And I don't think it can be called overperforming anymore. I think they're performing exactly where they should be. They have excellent recruitment and they're ran really well. That is a really well run football club.
I will say though that Brighton's kind of ownership is a little questionable, but at the same time it's not because the way in which they do the recruitment is all done via algorithms. Not unlike what a lot of recruitment's done already, but their algorithm in particular is linked to betting. But when I say betting, it's linked to high-end bettors. So we're talking millions at a time bettors. So this is where I was a little questionable. But to be honest with you, the guy who owns it, he owns a betting company, and then he lets Brighton use the algorithm for scouting players. So realistically, he's really just using all the tools at his disposal at that point.
I don't really think that's dodgy. If an algorithm can be used across multiple mediums, why would you not use it?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a video that I watched a long time ago. I'll see if I can find it and link it in the video. But he talks about the ownership of Brighton, how they do the recruitment, so that you know full well if they're going in for a player hard, you know full well there's a very good reason why they're going for that player. And in fairness, a lot of people have caught on to that already. When you hear Brighton going in for a player, you know that they're actually going to be quite good. So yeah. Obviously, yeah, we're talking about kind of.
Is that not going to make? Is that not going to make things quite sad though? Everybody's just going to start sniping the Brighton players.
Very much so, but obviously they can't do. They may bluff in the market though, so that they can use it to their own advantage as well at the same time. So it's kind of like I said, there's a lot of kind of things they could use to the advantage. So like people won't necessarily go in unless their own data backs it up as well, because every club will have their own data. For anyone not understanding like the analyst's job in or analyst and scouting jobs are within a football club, their job is to basically, first of all, the scout locates players that they think are quite good, then the analyst goes in, does their stats and determines the percentage of how likely this player is likely to work within the team currently. So that's usually how they work in, and they bring those reports to the manager, and then the manager usually decides from there whether or not they sign the player or go for it. Unlike some clubs though, like sometimes it goes to the higher ups and the manager has no say in the recruitment. That is also known to happen as well. The last stage is kind of a questionable, and it really depends on the club you go with. But I think
if it's clearly not broken, I may not agree with certain methods, but if it's not broken, I don't see the reason. And if it's perfectly legal, I don't agree with gambling. I don't like gambling, but there's nothing wrong with it. If everything's legitimate and above board, there's nothing wrong with using your own tool for your own benefit.
And in fairness, it's one of the ways in which he's gained so much money to then purchase these players. And in fairness, I should add, like I think it was all like 9 of the Brighton players that started against Man United. I think the combined valuation was like 7
points. Yeah,
yeah,
I've seen it.
It's not high at all. So yeah, and you know what? I'm looking at the result, and you look at the quality of the goals that went in. The quality of them is just, it was top tier. I mean, Welbeck's goal for the first one, the dummy, is just it's class. It's just class. Yeah, and like they merited the win. I mean, Pedro's goal as well was really, really good. And to be honest, just all the goals were really, really well taken. And I didn't actually see the Man United goal from, was it Hannibal? It was. I
wasn't watching the match. I was a bit.
Yeah. That was the one I actually missed. So I don't actually know how good that.
I heard that was a good goal as well, but somebody in the chat said like what a strike, so I assumed it was for that.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of the there was a lot of Man United fans leaving beforehand. I mean, the new boy got taken off about the 60-odd minute from Martial, which incurred a lot of boos and stuff like that around it, which I wouldn't have expected them to really like do full 90 minutes. However, at the same time, it's like he did play, I think it was like 30 minutes at Arsenal, and then there's the international break for. I don't know if he played in the international break at all, but I wouldn't have said that fitness would have been an issue for him. So I'm not 100% certain why he was taken off. Being honest, I didn't watch the full game, so I can't say, depending on how he played or whatnot in that regard. But there was met with a lot of boos and stuff like that. And obviously, with my thinking behind Man United when I was looking at it, it was. I mean, I didn't think they were going to get a result anyway, but that was partially due to the drama that's happening off the field as well.
Yeah. It's not a very good time to be a Manchester United fan.
Yeah.
Last season, everything just felt good. Like, we briefly forgot the Glazers. We briefly forgot our troubles. Like, we won a trophy. We were happy with our position. We were, like, well, I would say most United fans were content. Still not happy, but content. And this season, with the sale, the backroom drama, like players refusing to leave, like actually refusing to leave the team to help us, bring in players. The Sancho debacle, like
see,
like Anthony.
I have a lot to say on the Sancho one, right? And I lost a lot of respect for Ten Hag when he initially came out in the interview and said that a player didn't train, he didn't think that Sancho was training as well as he should do, or something like that. He came out and publicly said that. And at that point, obviously, yes, Sancho then responded publicly as well.
He's the manager.
Yeah, he is. And
He's the
problem
one that has to, him and his coaching staff are the ones that have to judge, like, who's training well.
I'm not debating that point at all. Like, at the end of the day, it's his choice who starts and who plays the game, which he absolutely should be. I don't agree with the public scapegoating off it. And I'm calling it scapegoating just because
that's the word Sancho used.
I'm using that way because he's broadly said it out to the media and said that this is what's happening and this is the reason why he's not playing. And then he's used that as also he also used that in his post-match interview for some reason against Arsenal. I can't remember why that came up, but it did come up, and he talked about it then as well, which is a bit odd as well. But regardless, one thing that you're kind of taught when you first do kind of coaching is you don't publicly oust a player in a team because you will give you short-term gain for long-term loss. Because initially it will kick everyone up the backside. Everyone in the team will get a kick up the backside for it. The long-term aspect of it is there's an element of trust that you lose with the players as well. Because at that point then, it almost feels like you can't really speak to the manager at the risk of you being publicly ousted in that regard. And I didn't agree with how him coming out initially, but then obviously Sancho kept that
apparently all of the players are backing the manager.
Oh yeah.
He can't just be talking. He can't just be talking a lot of balooey.
Oh yeah,
something's got to be true there.
Oh yeah, and
I don't think either side is more right than the other.
The only time I can think of where the players went against the manager was when Mourinho was in charge and he went against Pogba. And in that occasion, then the players went against the manager in that case, which I think in hindsight, when we're looking at it, realistically, Pogba was a problem then. And realistically, Mourinho maybe should have been given a bit more slack in that regard. But the players are naturally going to stick with the manager in that regard because at the same time, they need to think of their own. You've got to think of cohesion within the team. When the whole team is going against the management and the coaching staff, then it's going to cause a lot of friction and cause a lot of issues. Now, it's already causing issues. There's a lot of drama off the park with Anthony, and there was obviously a lot of drama with the likes of Greenwood as well. There was just a lot of... I think, realistically, him coming out in the public and doing Sancho was just not the right move. I think publicly, at that point, I think he would have been better showing more United front and... pun intended, and I couldn't help it showing a United front, and showing it, and then showing a United front and handling these things behind closed doors. Yes, there may have been questions in the media: why is Sancho not playing? Why is Sancho not playing? You could have covered it. You could have said, "Oh, he's handling a knock," which is the usual response in this regard.
And if you had said that, the player would have come out and said the same thing.
I don't think he would.
I think he would have. I think he would have. No matter what Ten Hag said, he didn't pick him because he didn't want to pick him.
Yeah.
And no matter what he said, this was. There's no. The immediate response from Sancho, it was premeditated. It was just too well. Like, he didn't write that out himself. Like that. The words used in that are very, very specific. I just don't believe that was a spur of the moment thing for him to do. I think he feels like he should be getting played, and the manager's not picking him. So no matter what Ten Hag says, Sancho's going to disagree with it, and he's going to come out with his statement.
Yeah, I mean, there was clearly a divide in the communication anyway with the two of them because that post stayed up. I think it was almost 2 weeks or so that post stayed up. And realistically, if this thing had been solved or been communicated against for beforehand, if there wasn't that gap, that post may have been taken down a lot sooner in that regard. I mean, the way I read it, it seemed like more of an emotional response. That was the way I kind of read it. Is it was a player that's had his kind of his integrity questioned, which I should add, by the way, it's not the first time players don't train well. Like Hazard in particular was one player that was famously known for not training well at Chelsea, but people never questioned it because he put the performances in. Obviously, Sancho maybe might be the same kind of player in that regard, but he doesn't put in the performances like Hazard did. There are players that don't train well but then perform on the game days. There's always been players like that. It's just sometimes, but with those, you have to be able to back it up on the field. You have to be able to back it up, and justify it. Yeah. I mean, nobody's questioning that Sancho is a great player. And at the fairness as well, there was one thing on media which I didn't really agree with as well when they said, what was it, the Ten Hag's getting a lot of the blame for this in regard, but the likes of like Aubameyang situation that wasn't put onto Arteta. I mean, it was, because Piers Morgan alone was the one that he was the most vocal one that you heard about it. He wanted Arteta out after singling out Aubameyang, and still stands by the fact that if he hadn't singled out Aubameyang, we would have got top 4 that season. So like it happens. Media can obviously get it screwed, and I get obviously to the point of view of.
Here's the thing: was Arteta right?
Oh, absolutely.
There you go. Then there's no question about it. If he was right to do it, then Piers Morgan is wrong.
Oh yeah, I mean, I get his point because it's a lot of what ifs. But Aubameyang was not performing at that time when he got kind of booted off the side. I don't know if you remember, he went like on, I think it was like a 10-game no goal ratio. Like he went on a run before that. So at that point, yes, he changed things around and whatnot. That I don't know necessarily if the Sancho situation. I mean, you're not exactly littered with massive debt right now, particularly in the area that Sancho's in, especially with the Antony situation cropping up as well. Although I don't rate Antony, if I'm being honest, at all, he's still a wide player. He can probably still kick a ball better than your players in the young team still. Like, he's still got that ability in him. So
I don't know. I might be trying to play fucking bloody Amad Diallo and Fernando Pellistri. Yeah,
I mean, very possibly. I mean, I'm a big fan of Garnacho and whatnot, and I'm always stand by the fact that Rashford should always be played off the left, because whenever he played striker, it was very hit and miss, and I feel like he could have had a lot more goals last season if he wasn't messed about position wise, as well. I feel like he's just so much better off the left than he is in the inside.
He even says so himself. He prefers to play off the left.
Yeah, because he can single out the fullback and then come inside. Like he's a lot better 1v1 than he is kind of 2v1. Which is natural. A lot of players are that way. There's very few that are better 2v1 than they are 1v1.
That's when you start getting into the messy territory of
players. There's very, very few in the world that are better at 2v1 situations. But yes, I lost respect for Ten Hag when he came out initially, because he was the one that came out first and ousted Sancho originally. Now, do not get me wrong, there may be something happening in the background that we don't know. There may be something initially that happened that maybe caused that outburst from him to say, or encouraged him to say that in the press conference at that moment. And obviously,
based off of your response to me asking you if you think Arteta is right, why, with that hindsight, why not take the manager's side?
It's more like, okay, yeah, getting rid of Aubameyang at the time was a huge risk, but we also had other players that could play the position. We had Lacazette and we also had Nketiah as well. But both of them were able to play up front at the time. Okay, yes, we lost quality off a player, but the player also wasn't playing well at the time. As well, so it was a mixture of things at the time, and I'll be honest with you, during it, I did question it myself. I wasn't convinced, and you know what? You're judged by the outcomes, not by the kind of the process in the end. Because at the end of the day, if the outcome's not good, then who cares about the process? So it kind of it's gonna we're only gonna know if this was the right thing to do 4 or 5 months down the line. That's the only time we're gonna know if this was the right thing to do or not. So that at the moment, everything that we're saying right now is absolutely pure conjecture. We have no idea. Right now, if this is going to be the right thing, and it's all opinion based.
It's entirely based off whether you take the coach's side or the player's side.
Yeah, yeah.
It's entirely subjective. We don't know.
I'm not taking the player side by any means. I don't think the player should have come out. I think he should have been the bigger man and not come out publicly and ousting the manager in that regard, because there was no winner in that regard. Absolutely no winner for him to do that.
Which is precisely why I take Ten Hag's side.
Yeah, there was just no. I mean, whoever was advising him at that time to post it, if there was anyone advising, or if he did it emotionally, there was just never going to be a winner in that regard. Eye for an eye, and the world goes blind, as they say. So there was just never going to be a winner in that regard. But yeah, it was. I know for what it was started with Ten Hag, and that's partially where I kind of lost a little respect, because you're just told as a coach, don't oust the player publicly, like that. You can shout at somebody for a performance in like half time or at full time, but as soon as you go out the changing room, that's it. You're blank slate. Next game's the next focus. You don't carry that kind of stuff going forward. Like anything that's emotional at the time. If you're doing training and say, for example, they're not performing at training at that point, you bring them to the side and you do it that way. There's very few players that would respond to a public ousting like that. Very, very few. And I think you're only looking at the absolute top elite players that would respond positively to that. So if you were to bring out Ronaldo, for example, and say, look, he's not training that well in game, he would then go in the next game, probably score a hat-trick. There's very, very few players that would respond to public oustings like that, and that's where I lost a little bit of respect for him, if I'm being honest. For clarity, I do think he is probably the man to take United forward. I do think he's got the right stuff about him. I do question a lot of his tactics. Very much so. I could see, particularly with the first few games, what he was trying to do with Onana coming in. And yes, he has been affected by injuries and stuff like that as well. Let's not get that around. But then also the drama behind him as well is not helped in the slightest. So I think there's been a lot of things that have kind of gone against him. And I would say, yeah, it's more stuff than what a lot of the other managers have had to deal with as well.
I think we need to back Ten Hag. Just let him try and get through this.
Yeah,
the worst possible thing we can do is react to this in terms of we are not managed by Ten Hag. That is the worst possible outcome for this.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. In a few months' time, opinion might change, and Ten Hag might need to go at that point. But right now, while there's so much divide in the team, what's been happening with like Anthony and Greenwood and now Sancho as well, it's a lot of divide, and at the moment, you like no matter what, like if you look at it, it's even just from never mind coach's point of view, from a management point of view, if you're sensing divide within your team, you need to find ways to unify it, and bring people together at that point.
That's the thing. How do you unify those kind of things? Those are kind of touchy subjects.
They are.
They're going to be incredibly divisive, and no matter how good of a coach anyone is, you cannot coach that. The only reactions he feels like he can probably take are public reactions, because everything currently going on with United is in the public eye. What is the point in him trying to keep anything private? It's going to get out.
Yeah, I'm not saying that don't respond publicly, but the way you unify the team is always behind closed doors, and then post if you wanted to keep it public, then post pictures of that unity, like pictures that support the unity, behind closed doors, like people laughing and trading and stuff like that. There's ways in which you can bring people together, and usually it's through kind of like games, like having maybe instead of doing a really tactical session in training, do more kind of game competitive style ones where people can have a laugh while they're doing it. Like you change the type of training that you do to try and bring people together. And like the same kind of works that applies as well from like a management point of view. Say if you say for example, if you've had a lot of bad days, say if this this is going to be bringing up an example. One time I was in work and we had about 11 sackings in the space of a week, right? 11 sackings in the space of a week. Now this was I could talk about this now because I left them, but basically this was down to people stealing at work. So there was a lot of people stealing at work, and it led to about 11 people.
Naughty.
About 11 people getting sacked, and the way that, like, I'm not gonna lie, it was an awful time to be in work. You kept thinking, "Oh God, am I gonna be next?" Even though you haven't done anything wrong, you just kind of felt like, "Oh no, am I gonna? Am I like you've got?" I have naturally a very guilty conscience. Even if I haven't done anything wrong, I still feel like I've done something wrong. So everyone was just felt like they were walking on ice at times, and the way we kind of combated that was eventually the management just kind of we just all went out for meals. We started doing stuff outside the work. We did stuff that took pressure off, and kind of gave a better image of the fact that actually, you know what, we're still together. We're still a team in this regard. You've got to put yourself out a little bit more, and you do more things like extra than what you do normally to try and build kind of connections in that regard, and make people feel a little bit more at ease regarding the situation. You know, don't ignore it. Don't say to them, like, look, this is a shit circumstance right now. Like, it is. You can't change what's happened, but let's kind of move forward, and like you try and get it a more positive outlook. You try and change people's mindsets, because everyone will have a negative. Like, I guarantee you full well that there's players at Man United right now that are scared to speak up. There's going to be people there that are scared to kind of open their mouths in case they say something that, they're the next Sancho, for example. So you need to find ways in which you put those people at ease, and then therefore once you put take the pressure off people like that, then you'll start to see United playing better. Because I think there's just things behind the scene that could be a lot better in that regard. But we'll wait and see, because like this is good. This is the real test.
That's the key difference between this season and last season. Like last season, it felt like the United team was united.
Yeah,
and it doesn't this. You've seen how well we performed when we were working as a team. We're just not anymore. And it's because of all the personal inside drama going on with the players.
Yeah. It's a huge amount of drama. I mean, like, even Harry Maguire's situation is one of the most questionable ones I've ever. I mean,
greed has kept him at United. He wasn't satisfied with his compensation from United or his wage at West Ham. He is happy to sit on the bench, taking $200,000 a week, because nobody else is going to be as stupid as United's recruitment than to pay players the overpriced wages, and that is why it's so hard for us to get rid of players.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I mean,
what are United going to do? Well, Harry Maguire has a couple of years left. All he has to do is just sit there. Clearly doesn't care about playing. Like, Southgate's going to pick him anyway. It doesn't matter if he plays.
Well, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, how is the Tomori or whatnot meant to get picked for England? Like, they could not play any better than what they did last season. Tomori in particular was one of the AC Milan's best players, and yet did not get picked. Like, he won the league with AC Milan and didn't get picked. Like, I was like, what? I mean, Ben White as well. Okay, yeah, Ben White does, typically speaking, play right back more often than not, and he's not gonna be Kyle Walker to.
Well, no, you have your other centre back, Lewis Dunk.
Oh yeah, he looked really good against Scotland. I was quite impressed with him, and there's also Guy as well that plays for Crystal Palace. I
hate to see England playing well, but they have some good players that really could take them to the next level.
Yeah,
now, and they're not getting played for petty reasons.
This is something that you're definitely going to have an opinion on. I mean, the debate currently with Harry Maguire, above him just playing, right, is the criticism debate. I don't know if you've heard too much about this. But basically, so basically people are coming out and saying that we should not criticize Harry Maguire.
This is Southgate's load of malarkey. That is like, oh, I don't think it's fair of United fans to just. He has had
United in
more.
England, yeah.
Yeah, he has had more. Fair. He plays well for England. Fair enough.
No, he
Doesn't
doesn't
play well, not anymore. Well,
Yeah.
he did, but that's the thing. But recently, he's been playing really bad for England. And what's your excuse now? Oh, it's now our fault as football fans to criticize a player that's clearly not performing to the level he is expected to play at as a former United captain and England captain.
Hmm.
Like,
I mean, I tweeted this out, and this is one thing that Ten Hag's definitely done better, right, than Southgate with managing Harry Maguire. You have a duty of care for any players that are under your contract for you or in your team, that if they are not playing well, you take them out the side. Not even just for the sake of the fact that, performance of the team, but it's also for the sake of take the player out of the spotlight. Because if you're putting the player in the spotlight and putting him in situations in which he will get criticised and get scrutinised and get analysed, then realistically that criticism is going to come. You've put the player in that situation. Ten Hag took him out of that situation by keeping him on the bench.
Southgate put him on the pitch.
Yes,
look what happened.
Exactly. Yeah, he scored an own goal within I think it was 5 minutes of coming on. Now, don't get me wrong, it's an own goal in which it's a hard one because he has to get something on it. But if he had gone to West Ham, then he would have been less in the limelight for it. United is one of the biggest clubs in the world, if not the biggest, and
he would have played well at West Ham.
He would
at a deeper line team.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah, a deep line team or a team that plays in a free back. He would be significantly better in. But no, he's prioritised money over play. But at the same time, where Southgate's saying, "Oh yeah, we just shouldn't criticise the player," absolute bollocks.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. One of my favourite. I don't. You've not watched Ted Lasso yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
No, there's one of my favourite kind of scenes in that show. Is one where they're in the interview room, and anyone that's watched it will know when Roy Kent goes into the interview room, and it's right after one of the players is jumped into the crowd after some what's it called, prejudice comments are made, basically, and basically he goes in the interview room and he basically says the fact that he gets it. People buy a ticket and they think they have the right to shout any abusive stuff at players. But you got to bear in mind, obviously, they're not just players; they are also people too. And it's one of my favorite scenes within Ted Lasso because it's so profound and very. Proper message in it. But yes,
I do completely agree with that. I am completely against it. All of these people sending death threats and howling actual abuse. If you're gonna criticize them about the football, and the football alone. That's one of the few things that I actually really agree with. For Mark Goldbridge on. You can absolutely criticize a player on their performances and on their skill level and how they should be playing. Mm-hmm. Don't make it personal. Don't attack the guy. He is still a person.
Yeah. 100%, and I think maybe there was also, if I'm being honest, I think there was maybe partially in Sancho's mind when he did post the message out, because I think he maybe potentially was trying to do damage control on his own side, because obviously then people were probably going to come after him and maybe give him those threats. So I think maybe that was partially in his mind in that regard. He try and deflect. Obviously, I don't know.
We'll never know.
I don't know. And that's what I'm thinking. Potentially, maybe that's maybe what was in his mind, but we don't know, and we probably never know in that regard. But yeah, there's one more thing just in regard before we move on, and that I kind of wanted to point out, and it also happened this weekend, and it was I can't for the life of me remember his name, but the Sheffield United boss, basically now. I'll get your opinions on this in a second, Remy, but basically he came out in the interview and obviously Sheffield United lost 2-1. It's the latest ever comeback in the Premier League. Spurs equalised in the 98th minute, and then won it in, I think it was like the 100th minute. It was mad. I watched it. Even I, as an Arsenal fan, kind of felt a bit like wow at this like whole circumstance. And I should add as well. I also kind of felt a little bit for Richarlison, because Richarlison came out in the week and stated the fact that he was having issues with mental health. And then what does he do? He goes and scores in the 98th minute to equalise against Sheffield United, which is his first goal at home since he signed for Spurs. Which I can't lie to you. Like, as soon as he kind of came out with the struggles with mental health, and then he does responds with that, I was like, yeah, good on you, mate. Nice one.
Fair play.
But what concerned me a little bit was Sheffield United manager came out and kind of talked about the refereeing performance, and what he meant by this was obviously this season
I didn't watch the match, by the way. So
yeah. Well, this was after the match. He was in the press conference afterwards, and he talks about the refereeing performance, and he says at the moment referees are now dictating how the game has to be played, right? So Sheffield United want to play out from goal kicks. They want to play out from goal kicks. And he says if you look at it, they kick the ball within 10 seconds of the goal kick every time. However, the Sheffield United goalkeeper got a yellow card for handling the ball outside the box. He didn't pick it up, he just handled it. So he got a yellow card for that. And the referee was then hurrying them along, trying to like stop them from time waste. And he says, well, they were taken within 10 seconds of the thing being given every time, and they wanted to play out from the back. And he then goes to the referee at half time and tries to talk about it. Says, look, we're trying to play out from the back here. And the referee's response to this was, well, just kick it long then. And at that point, you're like, what? How is the referee dictating how the game needs to be played?
Okay, I thought you were going to say, okay, that changes what the entire perception of that, because I thought you were meant. Like, I was about to disagree, because like it is a referee's job to like maintain the flow of the game, blah 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 blah. That's their entire job, to referee the game. But that sounds like, well, I don't care what you want to do, just kick it long. That's a little bit different. That's a referee telling you, no, you can't do your style of football.
Yeah, because he says when they're looking to take the goal kick, sometimes the decision that they make next is purely dependent on what Spurs do. So if Spurs then all of a sudden mark off the options for the short, then they have to kick it long at that point. So sometimes he says, well, we have to respond to what Spurs do sometimes, and to do that, we have to actually wait until they actually move into position. Otherwise, if we rush the decision every time, we're putting ourselves at risk. But we're putting ourselves at risk because, like, we can't risk the goalkeeper getting another yellow card now. For mistake and the Ollie McBurney one was even worse, in my opinion. Ollie McBurney got sent off in the 111th minute or something, right? Because of a foul where he was getting his shirt pulled. And he didn't get with the foul, right? And I get it. And he gone to the referee and he gone like pulling his shirt just like that. He wasn't in his face. He was just demonstrating the fact that he was getting his shirt pulled as well. And the referee did not hesitate giving him a second yellow at that point. Like, it was almost instantaneous.
What?
Yeah. Oliver Burnley was already on a yellow at the time. He went to the referee.
Yeah, no, but that's not like, yes, he's not swearing at the ref. He's not crowding the ref. He's not doing any of this stuff. He's not being aggressive, getting up in his face. He's just going up and going like, ref.
Yeah.
He's just doing that.
Yeah.
That's football, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I don't know how many times you've been fouled in a Sunday league and you go like, dude.
Yeah,
you gotta like your shirt's ripped. And it's like, not gonna call that. Like,
yeah.
Everyone does it. They're professional footballers, but that's what they're people playing football. It's the same response and reaction. Like, the reason these rules are in place are to protect the referee from potential aggression and violence, which I agree with. But there was no aggression or violence there.
Yeah, I can't remember which what ex-pro it was that said that. I think it may be Peter Crouch potentially. They always said the best referees were the ones that you could actually talk to, that you could actually you actually got an explanation from. And with this new rule, I get it though. I do. You don't want people crowding the referee at all, but I think that
has to be overturned.
I think realistically, Remy, maybe worth you looking at the Sky Sports channel and looking at the Spurs highlights, because it's a lot of questionable things in that. But the interview, he does point out the fact that he thinks the referees are dictating the game at this point.
Well, the referees have been given too much power.
Yeah. I mean, what's your opinion on the rules with the time wasting and stuff like that? Because at the moment, obviously, they're very quick to get to their pockets now.
Some time wasting is just a part of sports. Like, you don't like it, but it kind of is. Now, obviously, don't be a knob about it. If you're like going and if you're like playing FIFA and you're scoring it across the back, like, yeah, don't be a knob about it. I don't really like it when the players take it into the corner and shield it. I don't like that. But I understand it's a part of the game. But adding on something like 10 minutes of added time every bloody game.
See, that I don't mind. It's the quick yellow cards I don't.
I completely disagree with the amount of added times. It completely, like, how many games are going to, if they, last season, for the amount of added time you got, like, how many goals scored in the 98th and 100th minute are going to be scored that change the outcome of what games should be ending? Sheffield United should have had the win.
Potentially, but at the same time, you also look at it from the point of view that on average, the ball is only in play for 60 minutes, for the whole match. For a game that's about 90, so 30 minutes of the ball being out of the play, or 30 minutes of like what you've paid to go see, is going to be, and I should add that is the average. So there's definite times where it's below 60.
Alan, it's football.
It is, like, I get what you're saying. I do, because obviously, you didn't take into account player welfare and all that.
Yeah.
I just feel that's maybe a better way in some ways than quickly, like, as soon as you brandish a second yellow because of time wasting, you've then changed the game entirely. And this comes back to kind of the Sheffield United's manager's point, where referees are dictating how the game will be played, in that regard. So if you're really quick to yellow card to time waste, then all of a sudden the game changes again, and realistically the viewing pleasure is probably not going to be as good, because then you're going to have to watch a low block then, and yes, you're going to see more time wasting at that point as well. So I don't agree with the yellow card part. I do agree with adding the time on. I don't mind that so much, but I do get why you wouldn't like that though, because obviously you take into account player welfare. Yeah.
Like, you're making them play more.
Mm-hmm.
Who was it? Like, with Rodri a couple of seasons? Was it Rodri a couple of seasons ago? Played like 70 games.
Mm-hmm.
70 games in a season.
Yeah, I think in like NBA and stuff like that, I think they play like 80 odd.
Yeah.
And they've got more longer to travel than a lot of like the football players have got to do. They've got more to travel every away game. If you have to travel right across America, you're kind of like, that's quite a hefty journey, right there.
Well, can you imagine if they made you play every team 3 times?
Aye. Well, you got the Scottish League where obviously they got a split, and Rangers and Celtic play each other 4 times. It's bizarre.
No, we have the exact same thing. Exact same thing over here. Yeah. We have a split as well. So like,
I think it's the worst thing in football. The split needs to be abolished immediately.
I would agree.
Aye,
because we would have won the league last season if it didn't go into the split.
Yeah, and I think as well, when you look at it, I mean, from Scottish perspective as well, to improve the Scottish League, we need to get rid of the split and combine the Championship with the top tier Scottish League. That's how you improve Scottish football. You lower the amount of Old Firm games, so there's more meaning in each Old Firm game. So therefore, like
that's less revenue.
It's less revenue initially, but
it'll be better for Scottish football if they did it.
But it would be less revenue initially, but it would attract more players, and people would want to play in those games even more because they are less at that point. Less is more, as they say. And so initially it would be worse, but we would negotiate a better TV deal, because then at that point you've only got 2 Old Firm games, which would bring in a massive amount of revenue. So at that point, we would get a better TV deal if that was the case. At the moment, our TV deal is one of the worst ever. It's like 30 million that we get per year for the whole, like, and that's for the whole Scottish League for all the games that we get broadcasted. It's about 30 million, which is ridiculous. Just to put into perspective, Ajax get 130 million for their games that are shown on Sky, and there's not that many. I say Ajax, I say Eredivisie.
For the
really.
amount of people that watch the Old Firm, 30 mil.
Yeah, that Scottish football has always been written off, but these people that manage it are like awful. They do not know what they're doing at all. I mean,
I don't know, because I'm kind of getting more interested in the Irish League again versus the Premier League, because I miss a good tackle. I miss players like telling the referee to piss off sometimes. Like I do miss, like, that's some, because I don't watch a lot. Like, I don't watch a lot of Scottish football. I do try to pick up the odd Livy game, but beyond that, I don't get the opportunity to watch a lot of Scottish football. So for me, my local team, I grew up local to Cliftonville, and that's who I support in the Irish League. It's becoming more approachable than the Premier League. Premier League feels like I don't know, it's like watching the Super Bowl. It feels like you're trying to be sold something, and I just don't like it. It's almost like it's losing its soul.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, fairness, Livy are on TV next Saturday, 12:30 kickoff, against Celtic. Fairness, in the pub that you watch, you would probably watch Livy in. That would probably be everyone supporting Livy for a change. Yeah. So, that's it. I mean, that's on the 12:30 for anyone that wants to watch the best team in Scotland, and in Celtic. That's a controversial one. Fairness, in my Discord, I've got about 4 or 5 Celtic fans in there, so but they're all sound, so it's not an issue. But what was I saying? So kind of moving on from football a little bit. Obviously, we're kind of changing the. For those who don't know, I am starting to change the route in which my content goes, particularly myself. I'm looking at going back to FIFA, really, in that regard, which is what I kind of started with initially. However, I didn't enjoy the game at the time I was doing it. This time, I feel like EAFC, which it's called, which is a mouthful on its own, I feel like without the constraints that they had with FIFA, I think we could see a better game. I am very optimistic in that regard. I don't know, but I feel like as well my editing abilities have come on quite a bit. I can suit what FIFA needs in that regard, and I feel like at this point I might get a bit more success because as well I built a lot of what I already had on FIFA. I have a kind of inherent audience that kind of are very much football fans. Halo, I struggled with trying to get collaborations with, because everyone was always really late at night, and it was just too difficult to kind of get. As much as I love Halo, I don't know if I necessarily will come back to it. I don't know. It's really difficult to say. I mean, me and Remy both love Halo. We wish it was more popular on this side of the pond.
We do.
Because if it was more popular this side of the pond, I would have more collaboration options, and then I could do a lot more videos. The problem is a lot of the videos for Halo you have to do by yourself.
So that's even why Ubernick moved to America as a primarily Halo content creator. That's just where the audience is.
Yeah, you save if you want to be successful as well on the Halo, you also need to be streaming late at night. You content late at night, and then the videos that you do also get the most views late at night because of the American audience. So it's just not a sustainable factor to keep doing it that way. So going back to FIFA, I'm working on a video. A video hopefully will be out come Monday, I hope. I'm doing a lot of things editing-wise to this video, so it's going to be probably one of my most edited videos I've ever done. It's going to be very close or similar to the editing style which I did for my Warzone video, which was quite heavily edited in that regard.
What I will ask, though, because that's probably what some people are going to be wondering, are you only going to be playing FIFA, or are you going to be streaming other stuff as well? Or
On
is
the
that going
like
to be covered in the video?
on the light, no. I'm not doing like an announcement video like I did last time. For Halo, I am on the likes of Kick and Twitch. If they ever allow multi-streaming again, I will probably play other things on there. But YouTube streaming in particular will only ever be FIFA, probably going forward, and football chat as well, because obviously we'll chat about football as well in that regard on there. So we'll talk about fixture results. We'll talk about like what we think will happen and any drama in the footballing world. But FIFA will probably be primarily where my main focus is going forward. On those channels, in the likes of Kick and Twitch. Again, I really, really hope that Twitch allow multi-streaming on a wide base at some point, but until they do, at the moment it would just be Kick. Kick, you might see me do some streams on other games. But yeah, like I said, going forward, it's probably going to be primarily FIFA. I am looking at making some bet. I did get affiliate on Kick, so I can now start. I now officially can start earning money again from content creating. I gave up all revenue when I moved away from Twitch. Gave it all up because at that point I was like, it was just better for me to move. If I hadn't moved away, I wouldn't have got 1,200 subscribers on YouTube. If I hadn't moved away, I probably, to be honest, I probably would have given up content creating at that point because I wouldn't have seen nearly enough success on Twitch. It was getting very stale being on that platform, and it's just not a good place to be honest with you. The competition in there, you find against a lot more people, but at the same time, it's all exactly the same stuff you're watching. And on YouTube, I just feel like I've grown significantly more than what I would have done if I hadn't switched over. So in my opinion, it was the right move. And still reflecting back on it, I just think a lot of things wouldn't have gone my way in that regard. But I would still recommend anyone that's wanting to start streaming, always start on Twitch. Always start on Twitch, because it's just a better UI user interface in on Twitch. Like, chatting is significantly better than any other platform. Moderation tools significantly better than any other platform. I mean, you can't even ban people on YouTube live streams. You can only hide them from chat. So, like, say for example, I don't know, Rebby, you were being really randy in chat one day.
Of all the words you chose Randy. Thank you.
Yeah.
You sound like a pest.
All I could do is hide you from chat. So basically, you could still type in chat, and you think you'd be typing something offensive to me, but no one would see it, and I wouldn't see it either. So now,
that's kind of ingenious though, because
yeah,
people think they're like, oh, look at what I said. It's like, oh, but nobody's reacting to it. Oh, I'll try again. Nobody. Okay, I guess I'll
to be fair,
stop.
you still keep the view from that regard. So, like,
Not that we
get
want
it.
those views.
Yes, but at the same time, it's like
Views of you, man.
sometimes I just want rid of them. I just don't want them to come back at that point. I'd rather just get rid of them. So, like, in those regards, I would rather. I mean, yes, you can report and all that, but I'd rather ban personally. That's my opinion. But yeah, in regards to gaming as well, I did promise Remy we would talk a little bit about Starfield.
Yay!
Yeah, like, now, as for a game, I don't think there's been a game that's come out in the last couple years that is probably suits you as well as Starfield does.
Yeah, it's kind of games that I grew up playing, from Morrowind all the way up. It's a Bethesda game. People are getting mad because it's a Bethesda game. Like, yes, like, if the exact same issues that I have with Starfield are the exact same issues that I always had with Skyrim, I'm not gonna be too mad at that. Like, it is what it is. Like, the only real issue that I was having were some performance issues in the city. But I used the NVIDIA GeForce thing to fix it, and lo and behold, and I'm not getting 60 in the cities, but it's like 53 to 57, like perfectly acceptable compared to what I was used to. So outside of the cities, I'm going to be getting over 6, like either just a lock 60 or whatever the hell it will be running at.
Yeah, I mean, I pointed this out to Andy as well. I'm kind of, we're at a point now where it's actually a little bit more acceptable for games like Starfield to have bad launches almost, because of so many other
I don't
games.
think it had a bad launch. It ran well.
Oh no, I meant bad as in the sense of how it did run in regards to people's expectations. So obviously,
No, that's
like,
because people were expecting everything that it was not going to be. If you were expecting this to be anything other than a Bethesda game,
yeah,
you were like I said this before the game launched. I don't know if you remember. I said it to both you and Andy. I think no matter how good or bad Starfield is when it releases, people are gonna hound it just because it's not what they wanted it to be.
yeah, I think like we're almost spoiled in a way, and like with a lot of games and how a lot of games have ran. I mean, in fairness, like I can list quite a lot of games that had not great launches in regards to performance. I mean, we've got the likes of The Witcher, Cyberpunk, Pokemon.
Oh no, it performs well. You just need beefy to run it.
Yeah,
well
even then,
you can run it fine.
The Witcher game in particular is one that I think, because that was the one I tried to play initially, and if you had higher gear, it was harder to run than if you had lower gear, which was a really bizarre circumstance. I mean, you've got the likes of the Pokemon, Scarlet. The hardware in the Switch is not powerful enough to run it the amount it needs to be. Cyberpunk obviously was a bit of a disaster when that came out. But in fairness, I think Cyberpunk set the bar
for how bad a game could be.
Yeah.
But then 2042 came out.
Yeah, and then like if Cyberpunk came out now, it would have been significantly wider, better received.
It's meant to be a game worth playing now.
Yeah, like if it came out today and had the issues it had at the start, people would be more patient to it, because we've had a lot of other games now that have had the same issues. So
But the thing that people are also forgetting about Starfield, do you know what fixed everything we didn't like about Skyrim? Mod support. Yeah. They have confirmed it will be getting mod support. So
yeah,
what are you complaining about?
I haven't played the game too much, but I do, like on Twitter in particular, I do enjoy.
I've played it quite a lot.
I do enjoy seeing the different types of starship building.
Oh yeah, it's hard to get a grasp of, but once you get into it, it is really addictive. I spent like 2 hours building a ship.
Yeah, it's like I've seen people building like different like Star Wars ships, like the Millennium Falcon.
The one that I've found that I want to redo and build myself, just because I think it's awesome. I don't know if you've ever heard of the show, but have you heard of Firefly?
I've heard of it. I never watched it though.
Well, the starship in that is called the Serenity, and there's a tutorial on how to make it, and it looks amazing, and I want to do it. So.
I'm very surprised you haven't built the Enterprise yet.
There's no real good way to do it without mods yet. Because I've seen some people attempt to do it, and it's okay, but it's not quite good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why you're seeing specific things being done. I saw a really good one for a UNSC frigate from Halo.
Yeah, I'd see a lot of Pelicans and stuff as well.
But those are complicated to build.
Aye.
The Firefly Serenity's easier.
Yeah, I mean, I did say, I think in our chat as well, is that once mods come out for this game, it's going to hit like a complete. We could actually end up with a brand new Star Wars game within Starfield. Like we really could.
I'm happy with it. Like, do I have problems with it? Yeah, sometimes things can get a bit repetitive with the enemies you're fighting, with going into play, but. You've had that in every single Bethesda game that you have ever played. Why is it all of a sudden such a massive issue now? Because you were expecting, a AAA version of Star Citizen?
Yeah, you got to remember how it was launched. It was launched free, and therefore the audience that got it was more widely received. So you were getting a lot more people that weren't Bethesda kind of game.
Biggest launch they've ever had?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, like let's not sugarcoat it. That's partially due to the fact it was released on Game Pass.
Yeah, and the amount of people that simply got Game Pass just to play it.
Yeah, Like, yeah,
Mark Genius.
yeah. Like, the fact that it was open to so many more people. I mean, I played it for a little bit.
Like, I'm playing it on Game Pass PC.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna wait for once mod support comes out, I'm gonna get buy it on Steam. I'm just replay through it.
You know what you should do, by the way, as well, I mean, you should get EA Play for the PC, and then you can play Pro Clubs with us, because it's cross-platform.
Doesn't that come with it? I've got it.
So for FIFA, when it comes out, to get the game when it first launches, because you get the full game.
There's an additional one.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I think, do you not get that with if you have Ultimate? They give you it on PC.
I don't know. You need maybe double check with Andy on that one.
I'll have to check.
Regardless, I know full well the one that gives you all EA games as soon as they launch on PC is like £14 a month.
Yeah, why is it all? Is it crossplay now?
Yeah, Pro Clubs is crossplay.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so you could actually play clubs now if you want.
I'm not playing FIFA again, man.
Oh yeah,
Oh well, no, don't get me wrong. No, okay, because I know you're gonna call me out with it. Yes, I know Errol and I sit and play FIFA.
No, that was what I was going to say. I was going to say that
Just don't get me wrong. It's fun with friends, and that's the only thing I liked about it.
Yeah, and you could get it just for the Pro Clubs, because the Ultimate Team on PC is crap, because you only get the market for the PC, and there's significantly less PC players. So there's no point playing it on the PC for Ultimate Team, but for Pro Clubs purposes, it's actually worth it in that regard.
As long as it doesn't appear on Steam as my most played game.
Guy, don't get me wrong, I still like your description of FIFA as a time vampire.
Yeah, it's a time vampire. You just sit down to play a game, and then it just sucks away like 10 hours.
Yeah,
and those 10 hours go by quick, especially if you're a football fan. It's so addictive. I genuinely think FIFA is probably on the same level as League of Legends for how addictive it can be.
See, I've never got addicted to League of Legends or those type of games. In fairness, me and you need to play some Pokemon Unite.
Pokemon Unite, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Pokemon briefly,
I've gotten really good at it, by the way.
Oh, right, there you go. Who do you mean then?
Snorlax. I just keep sitting on people, and they can't seem to kill me.
Have you done any ranked, or is it just all like...
just random games.
Yeah, random, yeah.
I haven't done
it is. Aye. No, speaking of Pokemon briefly, I'll cover it briefly, because one thing we have missed since the last podcast was the launch of the first DLC for Scarlet and Violet that came out, and I'll be honest with you, my opinions of it was it's awful. Guys,
I don't play Pokemon anymore.
Yeah.
I stopped years ago. Just not because I think you should, but just because I don't like what it's become.
Yeah.
Anything.
Like, I get what they were trying to do with this story a little bit. I get a little bit what they were trying to do with this story. And I should add, this Pokemon has the best story out of any Pokemon. Like, genuinely, I mean, I've questioned whether or not they could actually do the story they've done, because it got really dark. And I didn't think they could do it, because it was like, they're talking about people dying and like people's mothers becoming robots. And I'm like, this is very questionable on ethics, whether or not they could do this for a kid's game. Yeah, like I wasn't sure on it. But it has the best story that I've seen out of any of them. Like actual like storyline. Like, don't get me wrong, the things you can do in it. The textualization thing is a bit of a like why what was wrong with Demaxis? What was wrong with like the Sword and Shield, where you could like just up the damage your Pokemon could do? Like what was wrong with that? Like, don't get me wrong, I get from the esports perspective of what textualization is. I don't know if you know what textualization is. Basically, it's a mode. It's a thing you can do where you can change your Pokemon's type. Instantly. So this is where I get from the esports perspective why this is very popular. You can only do it once with one Pokemon in your whole team. But like, say for example, I had Mew on mine, and he was Psychic, and then if I was to do the textualization thing, he would then become Steel, Steel type, and with that you also get a damage boost for any Steel type moves that he.
Yeah, you get your stab.
Yeah, but obviously your effectiveness is also then directly related to Steel type moves. So at that point, then like Dark moves, for example, then
Flash Cannon.
Flash Cannon.
Flash Cannon would destroy, because that's one of the very few. That was
the one that he knew almost instantly when I got him. Like, you knew Flash Cannon almost straight away. So you had that, but then also like dark moves are strong, like are super effective against Psychic, but then you test the lies to Steel, and all of a sudden they become non-effective. So it is handy from that perspective in that regard. But I didn't feel like it needed to be added, to be honest with you. But hey, is what it is. But yes. Okay, right. I think on that one, I think we've kind of talked.
Can I say one more thing about Starfield? Because
go for it. You're like a kid on Christmas. Go for it.
Because here's the thing. Everybody remembers their first Bethesda game. And something that it just popped into my head while we were talking. So like my partner's sitting beside me. She's playing video games. She's playing her first ever Bethesda game. She's having a good time. This could be a lot of people's Skyrim. This could be a lot of people's Oblivion. Their first delve into this style of gaming. Like, she hasn't played an RPG up until this point.
Yeah, to be fair, like I'm right in saying that kind of Gosh's style of games are a little bit more sci-fi rather than like fantasy, like Denim.
Yes and no. She's much more into fantasy because like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. But based off of the stuff that she's been playing, like Overwatch, very sci-fi. Like Starfield now, very sci-fi. Like, yeah, I can see why you would think that, but she tends to like more. She loves Ori and stuff like that.
Has she ever played any of the Lord of the Ring games?
I don't think so. No, that she wouldn't have been playing them. Like, her brother didn't really let her play video games. But
you should get some of them for a laptop and then get her to play them. Like the
I was trying to get like because she really likes RTS games. She loved Halo Wars. Oh, sci-fi. She loved Halo Wars.
What was I going to say? Battle for Middle Earth, the first one, not the second one, in my opinion.
Tried to find that. It's delisted.
I can get you it.
Oh,
I've got the disc for it. So.
Oh, sweet. Because like that. Well, that's sweet. You can just like USB disc drive. Like because I was looking for that, but it's been delisted everywhere. You can't buy it digitally anymore.
It's one of the best games I ever played.
Well, I don't think you ever could. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it came out before digital was a proper thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's actually some websites now that just give out free games now like this because you can't buy them anywhere. It's impossible to buy them.
Like the amount of free random games I've got from Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Like I got Need for Speed Pro Street because you can't buy it anywhere. So like, there's websites out there that just give it because they want people to still experience them. But you can't buy them.
Point me in that direction, because there's quite a few games that I know that you just simply can't play.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find where I got Need for Speed from, and maybe they throw that your way. But yeah, it's kind of a sad thing in that regard. You can't legitimately buy them. Like, it's not like it's if people are giving you out them. Technically speaking, at that point, it's not piracy because the people are giving you them because you can't buy them. Literally, they're not accessible in that regard. If they were accessible, then yes, it would be piracy.
It's kind of like what EA have done with Alice, the original, American McGee's Alice platform game based off of like Alice in Wonderland, but it's a very distorted, twisted version of it. It's extremely dark, deals with some serious mental health issues, and it's one of the most beloved like original like 3D platformers that came from PC. But the only way you can play that is if you buy an old delisted copy of Alice Madness Returns, the sequel to it, that comes with the code for the original. But thankfully, because of Game Pass, you can now actually just play it because I think it comes with like some EA access or some EA thing, and it's one of the games on it, so you can play Alice Madness Returns and then go into American McGee's Alice, the original. So thankfully, one of the benefits of Game Pass, we can now play this game again. That game was brought back, but for years you could not play it.
All right. Right, because I'm conscious of time and the fact the F1's about to start soon. So, because it's the Singapore Grand Prix and Max Verstappen starting like below 10. And yeah. So, lastly, obviously, this part of the podcast, which obviously I always like to introduce like this. This is the part of the podcast in which Remy has full control over. Obviously, I have no say. It is purely down to Remy to come up with a question to ask myself and any guests that come on to the podcast. really a deep question, a question that makes you really think about your own perspectives and your own life and your own opinions. And team, don't let this be just a question for me or any of the guests. Also, make sure that you answer in the questions in the comments below as well, your own thoughts and opinions, as well of what your thoughts and opinions are on our own answers. So, Remy, this week, what is your query?
Well, my query this week is more of a one of, I suppose, like, what's your motivation and stuff like that. But what do you define as success? What does success mean to you? It could be anything, like simply like getting a new job, or like simply persevering, just like moving forward. It like that's the basic sum up of what my idea of success is. Simply not standing still. You, like, as a person, like, I'm content with life, but you still gotta look forward. You still gotta keep progressing. Like, you can't stand still. That's like, you'll miss an opportunity in life. You'll miss an opportunity to live if you aren't constantly pushing forward.
I get that, and like, in fairness, I mean, you could look at the other alternative to that is success is at the point where you don't have to don't have to keep moving at that point.
But that could be success. You become a billionaire.
Yeah. You want, like, team, just subscribe and give me a tenner each, and then they'll work. No, what I kind of defined as success really is just kind of, I would love to get to a point on which I am not relying on having to do YouTube or anything as support. Like, don't get me wrong, I might be at this point now where I don't need to rely on it, but I do want to rely on it, and then get to a point where I don't have to rely on it. Like, if that makes sense, I want to get to a point where
kind of like a C-Nanners thing, because he doesn't really do much.
Yeah, well,
like Harry wrote a show, the residual views he gets.
Yeah, but he does the sidemen, so he's kind of relying on the sidemen at that point. It varies. I would love it where the podcast alone would be the point where I could just rely on the income from this to support me, and me and Remy are both millionaires living on Barbados. At this point, it's sipping on pina coladas. We're doing this podcast today with pina coladas at the beach.
Pina colada.
Exactly. But we can only do that if you subscribe. No. But yeah. I kind of just, I mean, to be fair, as long as I'm happy with what I'm doing, it's kind of success to me at the end of the day. I mean, what was it? Next month will be the kind of year on from where I almost crashed the van due to a panic attack. The fact that coming on from there and come so far and kind of perspective completely changed on like some mental health and stuff like that. Everyday success in that regard. Because you're always moving forward in that regard. You're always moving forward mentally. You're always learning every day, and every day is a chance to be better than what you were yesterday. So the success can be defined in a lot of different ways. In my opinion, in my own perspective, yes, I kind of agree with you. With moving forward is most definitely a route to success. Success, keep moving, keep being better than what you were yesterday. But the end goal for me, because that's what people really want to hear, is like, what's the end goal? What's the picture look like as success to you? Realistically, it is a monetary value for me. It's the point where which I don't need to rely on a normal 9-to-5 job. It's the point where I can rely on content creation to support me going forward, and hopefully support my family and friends as well in that regard. That would be success to me. I am pushing a lot of things in the background as well, so try and get that image out, but we'll wait and see in that regard. But anything else to add in that regard?
Not really. Well, honestly, in terms of what my end goal would be, it wouldn't be something too dissimilar, because as you know, like, you stayed with us, like, I feel like I'm a natural entertainer, and I would even if I didn't make, like, if I could live off it, even if I wasn't successful, but if I could live off it, I would love to be able to do this like, as a job. Like, if this was my 9-to-5, I'd be happy. I would love to just chat shit and get paid for it and play some and stream some video games.
Yeah, who would love to have their job as chatting shit on a regular? Yeah, I mean, it's
Success can be many things, my friend.
absolutely, team. And you know what, team? Let us know as well what your thoughts are on success in the comments below as well. What you define as success, if it's much similar to what we think. If your image of success is, to be a billionaire, you put that in there. You let us know. But yes, team, I think on that one we'll wrap up today's podcast. Thank you very much for anyone that has been listening and watching this podcast. Make sure that if you're not already, make sure that you are subscribing to the podcast YouTube channel. We are growing steadily, so keep the growth going. Make sure you like the video. If you are listening to this on Spotify, Apple Music, and Nans TV, make sure you are following the podcast where you can. But other than that, it's an adios for me, and it's a
bye. Sorry, I panicked.
I put you completely on the spot there.
I don't think you're going to do that. you asshole.
Yeah,
I was just in my own wee world. He's doing his outro.
Yeah, I put him on the spot with the intro, and I put him on the spot with the outro.
I think I did much better with the intro than the outro.
I just bye.
At least we got a blooper.
That's a short. Radio team. Adios. Take care. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.